Hey guys, and welcome back to ScarletSprites. I've struggled a little bit with getting videos out more recently, and the topic of this video certainly isn't going to free up any more time for me, and this of course is the Virtua Racing arcade machine pickup that I grabbed last week. Talked a little bit about this on Twitter and Instagram. I thought for today's purposes, let's go ahead and take a look at current state. Hopefully this is the before video, and in the coming months I'll put together an after video showing some of the restoration and hopefully not too many replacement parts that I've needed to complete this and get it up to 100%. Let's go ahead and take a look. Alright, so here we go. This is the Virtua Racing arcade cabinet, which is finally up and running. You'll see both monitors displaying a pretty good picture overall. The left was just coming up blank when I got this and needed some work. I'll show that first here. So the power supply was shot. This is a new power supply that I picked up from Suzo Hap. The old one is over here. You can kind of take a look at this. This thing is filthy and just nasty. It's rusted, as is so much of the metal on this cabinet, which is going to require a lot of work. The other thing that was keeping this from working is, this might be difficult to see, but this was the fiber optic cable that was kind of holding the two main boards inside. Well, not holding them together, but connecting them, and that's just not going to work. This is basically just an optical cable, which some of you guys probably know from different stereo components and even game consoles. So those are the two things that were preventing this from working. So now we got a new power supply, a proper optical cable hooking this up. The system boots and is playable. So this is car number 2. It also has a power supply that's looking pretty grungy. I'll probably have to replace that as well. It's just out of good practice. I mean, it's running now, but who knows how much longer that has, or if it's going to fluctuate power on me. I don't know. There's a sound amp, and then an Exactron, which the power is regulated through. It's crazy because, you know, you kind of think that there might be one or two boards here running this setup. Well, it uses two power supplies. Both of these are basically being treated independently as two different arcade machines that are then linked. So everything that you find here on car number 2 is also on car number 1. Moving up the bench here, you'll see there's soundboards here for car 1, soundboards for car 2, and then in the back here we have the I/O boards. But that's not all. You go ahead and lift this up, and inside you have the main PCB stacks. This consists of 3 boards. On top you'll see there is the ROM board, which is your game data on both sides, plugged into what is essentially, you know, for argument's sake, the console or the processor for the game. And underneath you can kind of see that red light. The third board down there on the bottom is the communications board for linking these two things together. And again, those are just the 2 optical cables that are running from side to side. And one of those thankfully I had an old one. I was able to jump in and replace that one that was shredded. The noise you're probably hearing in the back, there's 2 very large fans, also probably should be replaced. They're grungy. They could be cleaned up probably, but if I can find suitable, quieter replacements, I'll do that. And you can kind of take a look here, guys, at the board in the back, at the underneath of this bench. I mean, that's just gross. I mean, that white, I'm assuming, might be mold. Hopefully it's not anthrax. But that has to be sanded down and cleaned. And then you can see down here there's more dust bunnies. There's a number of different connections that go from the front into the main console here. I mean, look at that. That's just crazy. Hooking this up and moving it was a real pain. I'm hopefully going to be able to keep it where it is at this point. Foot pedals also rusty. I have some rust remover that I'm using on some of the screws that I've already have in a bath upstairs, and I'll probably be able to do the same thing with these guys. And then you can kind of see, I don't know if I can get the camera in here, in the back there, some of these gears and stuff are really rusted, and I'd like to pull that all apart and clean that up. The side art overall, it looks really good. I was surprised by this. The side art's actually pretty great. Really good condition. A few scratches and peels here, but I think this is from 1992, so you can't really expect too much. Again, on top here, you can see these metal pieces on the back of the car 1 and 2 lights, as well as the main marquee. I mean, they're just brown. They're just completely rusted over, so those things definitely need to come off and be placed in a bath. Same with a lot of these nuts on the back. And then obviously this whole piece here I'm gonna just wipe down and scour. This might be hard to see here in the back, but this is the back of the Wells Gardner monitor that is for, I guess, car number 2. You can kind of see down here, this is the one thing that actually isn't dusty, thankfully, because it's been cleaned up. Uses a K7500 chassis. Overall in good shape. I don't know if I'm going to mess too much with that, as far as I'm just so gun shy of messing with monitors if I don't have to. But moving farther down, you can kind of see similar situation here. These are all rusted as well, and you've got a lot of just dirt and grime inside the machine here. Sorry about the lighting, guys. You can kind of see a little bit up under here. This is a PCB that is basically in charge of the steering wheels and I believe the foot pedals as well. Thankfully that all seems to be working fairly well from the little bit I've played. In the back left there you can kind of see the gears for the force feedback on the steering wheels. These are the monitor adjustments, and they're just kind of like laying in here. So, I mean, I don't know if that's by design. I can't imagine that it is. I'll probably put a little piece of Velcro on the back of that and then just attach it here. So that's for car number 2. On the other side here, you can see I've got another one, obviously, for car number 1. Overall, the monitors look pretty good, which is obviously an important part of any machine. And here you can kind of see a little bit better in the back of car number 1. That's the motors for the steering wheel, force feedback. Here's a better look at the side art. Got a little bit better lighting on this side. This is the left. Again, not perfect, but for 1992, and who knows where this thing has been, not too shabby. Move around here to the front. You guys can kind of see, some of you probably remember this. All these buttons switch your perspective when driving. They all work, they all light up. See a little bit of detail here on the steering wheel. This will focus for me. It does say Sega Racing games on the steering wheel, which is kind of cool. And in the back here, there's a paddle shifter for manual transmission. You can hear that click, which is nice. Sadly, when I did put this in manual, it didn't work, so I'll probably have to take that out and take a look at it. Hopefully that's an easy fix as well. The coin mechanism lights weren't working either. That was a pretty simple power supply fix. The right still has the original bulb in it. The left was burned out, and I have these red LEDs I pop in, which, you know, from the front you can't really tell, and actually seem to work pretty well. So, hooray for simple fixes and small gains. The last piece I'll show here is the bench that you sit on to actually play the game. Now this bench actually sits on top of this piece here. So I don't think I ever realized that. I had assumed that all the components for this were inside of the main console here, but that is not the case. This thing here houses most of the game components, power supplies, everything we just showed, and you're actually just kind of sitting on top of all of that. That black strip across the back is where the speakers are housed for the game. And then what I like about this, on the back, there's kind of a second marquee, and this whole strip across the back lights up, and that I confirmed that that does work, and the lights are still good in that. The speakers I don't know about, because when this was mounted earlier, the game itself wasn't working. So fingers crossed. The seller told me that the speakers work, so I'm gonna take her word on that. So if anyone's wondering, I paid $350 for this, which, I mean, you know, I always see those comments on my Arcade 1-Up videos where people are saying, I don't have $3,000 to spend for an arcade. Well, they don't cost that if you're on the prowl and you're kind of paying attention and looking for deals. So yeah, there's a little bit of work involved in this and some cleaning on my part, but I mean, this is a legit arcade machine that is pretty cool. It's a little bit of a project, but that's just kind of the way it goes with deals. I think overall this will be fine in the end. Worst case scenario, my thoughts were I could sell off some of the boards here if I needed to. I'd have a cool marquee piece for my basement once this is finished off. I was actually even planning on keeping the bench to mount to a piece of wood and make a seating area for my basement, just as an accent piece. But forget all that. This thing works, and I'm pretty sure I can get this thing back to 100% and cleaned up. So that's it for today, guys. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Sorry that this was the poor man's John's Arcade today.